The Rise of Kylo Ren issue 4 is here, and just like the previous 3 issues, I enjoyed this one a lot. I will say it didn't deliver anything that unexpected, but that's asking a lot for a guy like me. We already know the end result of Ben Solo's journey, and we also knew where this comic was heading from day one. With that said, I want to talk about what I really liked about the final comic concerning Ben's transformation into Kylo Ren. The story takes place in the Mid-Rim, on a mind moon of Mimban. The Knights of Ren are on the hunt for relics. They encounter a race of aliens guarding what is called the Mind Splinter, which is an interesting name since this entire story of Ben Solo revolves around the split between the light and dark within himself, a splinter. Ren thinks that a show of force against these aliens will get them to talk about where this relic is, but then Ben chimes in with an alternative way to gain information. As we have seen on screen, Ben uses the mind probe technique to figure out where the relic lies, and this greatly impresses Ren, and Ben explains that it's just a Jedi technique, but that Snoke showed him a variation of it, aka the dark side equivalent. So again, this is Ben channeling the light and dark. Ultimately, even though Ren told Ben he would release them, meaning the aliens, if he gained the intel that he needed, the Knights of Ren kill all the aliens anyway, slightly horrifying Ben. Ren ends up annoyed with Ben because of his reluctance to jump into the slaughter of all these alien natives. It's making him question young Solo. Ren wants Ben Solo to prove to him that he's, as he stated, one of us, one of the Knights of Ren. But from this point, I immediately thought to myself, Ben Solo is escaping the trappings of a group identity, so stepping back into one wasn't going to go over well, in my opinion. At this point, Ty and Vo show up with Ty deciding to challenge Ben, thinking he could reason with them, and Vo takes on the Knights of Ren with ease, actually demonstrating that while not as powerful as the other Jedi of Luke's academy, she is highly proficient in her skill. She makes a fool out of the Knights of Ren, just like Luke Skywalker did. Ty tells Ben that he found him through the Force. They have a connection, but Ben wishes that they never did, and then they proceed to duel. And it's clear that Ben is consumed with anger while he's facing his friend Ty. He doesn't really want to do this. Ultimately, Ty is trying to tell Ben that he always has a choice to stay in the light. Ty doesn't believe that Ben is without control of his situation or path. Now, Ben reacts to Ty in a very interesting way. He states that he's never had a choice, down to the fact of his namesake. He looks at his own birth as a gambit for the Force, the light and dark claiming him as their own without Ben being able to have a word about it. He feels trapped by legacy and expectations, and this is stuff that we all know, and he feels trapped not only from the light and Luke Skywalker, but he even mentions Snoke. Although Ben Solo does remain an apprentice of Snoke, he hates being under anyone's guidance, and this is my opinion. It just seems that way. He's tired of living up to the expectations put upon him. Ben believes no one sees him as a person anymore, only a tool for their own ends. Finally, Ben does overpower Ty, and Ty gives him the opportunity to be the man he believes Ben to be, or to kill him. But Ren takes this moment away from Ben Solo, using the Force, what little of it he can harness, to snap Ty's neck. Ren thinks Ben Solo is incapable of fitting in with the Knights of Ren now, using his inability to strike down Ty as his reason, saying Ben is fighting everything the Knights stand for every step of the way, claiming Ben doesn't want to live in the shadow. And finally, the moment I absolutely expected from the announcement of this series, Ben Solo declares to Ren that he is right. He doesn't want to live in the shadow. He is the shadow. And he leaps at Ren, engaging him in a fight to the death. Ren does his best to gaslight Ben with his taunts about being too precious, too special to have ever been in a fight at all. But all Ren is talk. As this progresses, we get a glimpse of Palpatine on Exegol sensing all of this through the Force, telling Ben to become who he was meant to be, letting us know where he got that sentiment from. Personally, I love that that was in the comic, even though the absence of Palpatine is pretty obvious for the first 2/3 of this trilogy. Now when I look back at it holistically, it isn't as clunky anymore, at least the story itself. Palpatine has been scheming for a long time with Ben Solo, so this is Ben Solo coming to fruition in his mind. The next frame shows everyone sensing Ben's fall and ultimate decision through the Force. We see Snoke being pleased, Leia, his mother, in horror, Rey sensing something cold on Jakku, reinforcing their bond, and Vo watches thinking Ben Solo is acting like a Jedi, and Palpatine, stuck in his medical Sith arm, is amped up, wanting Ben to strike down Ren and claim his birthright. I think it's here that we can safely say that Ben Solo is finally aligned in the dark side completely, and Ben Solo kills Ren, giving giving him his good death that he asked for. This is exactly what I figured would happen, but oh well, it was still cool. Now, there is a lot of lightning flying around in these images, and I'm not sure if that's metaphorical since Palpatine is sort of orchestrating things from behind the curtain, or if Ben himself went so dark that he was generating lightning as he fought Ren. Either way, I think these are a glorious few pages, and The Rise of Skywalker set precedence for Force lightning to come about under great pressure, so it's possible Ben Solo did create this lightning storm. After this, Ben grabs up Vo's lightsaber, and Ben reminds her that he's a murderer, just like she said in issue 1. Ben tells Vo that there's no one left to teach her anymore, and right before he impaled her with Ren's old crimson lightsaber, he asks her why she even wants to live. It's a horrifying image. A cool, calm, collected Ben Solo nihilistically asks Vo why even continue existing while simultaneously murdering her. Vo was right about Ben, at least in this moment. After this, Ben senses the knights and realizes that they are all kneeling before him. Ben Solo has taken out their master. In their eyes, he is unmatched. And if you think, nah, they kicked his ass in The Rise of Skywalker, well, he didn't have a lightsaber. The second he had one, the Knights of Ren were done. So this comic wraps up in the Night Buzzard, with Ben Solo actually bleeding his own Kyber crystal. This was fascinating to me for a few reasons. First, I thought he was going to repurpose Ren's crystal into his own saber. Basically, I thought it was going to be like Ben Solo not fully aligning in the dark, using somebody else's red Kyber. But this comic said, nope, Ben Solo is committing, at least for now, to the dark side completely. And what's interesting is, when you bleed a Kyber crystal, it's usually from some other fallen Jedi's lightsaber. Usually, the Darksider has killed this Jedi. In this case, it's Ben Solo bleeding his own Jedi crystal. And then it cracks. And we all know that he's had a cracked Kyber crystal since The Force Awakens. But for me, now it represents that Ben chose the dark, but that he is forcing it. No pun intended. The crystal cracking is almost a foreshadow that Ben broke himself by choosing this path, by letting dark thoughts dominate him. And ultimately, if he stays on this path, he will forever remain broken. I also think that when we see Ben's eyes go full Sith, it's really to tell us that yes, Ben Solo has given himself over to the dark path for now. And we see that his initial design with his new red Kyber was defective, so then we get those famous vents for his crossguard saber. The comic ends with another thought coming into Ben's mind asking him what his name is. And as he finally ignites his crossguard saber, Kylo Ren has emerged. Do I wish that we got more? Yes. I wish we got some more information about Snoke, what Snoke is, how Luke gave him his scarred appearance, and how exactly Palpatine and Snoke are working together knowing Snoke is a creation of Palpatine. Either way, I think it was inevitable to feel the desire for more information. That's normal. But I also like that I get to come up with my own theories for all of these things. And I'm glad that now I have the entire story of Ben Solo's fall. Because of this, be on the lookout for an extensive recap of Ben Solo's entire story from comic to film. It's going to be a long video because, as you all know, Kylo Ren is my favorite character in the sequel trilogy, and now, basically, my favorite character in all of Star Wars. So thank you for watching my recap and review of issue 4, the final issue of The Rise of Kylo Ren. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and leave your comments down below if you have any. May the Force be with you, and AT-AT is signing off.